Remember, kids, if you're going to open up a portal to a parallel dimension, make sure you have proper grown-up supervision. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Thumb Together TV. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Today we're going to be talking about His Dark Materials Episode 8, Betrayal, together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. And as usual, if you're a fantasy fan, don't forget to pick up my book, Side Scroller, an adventure fantasy set in a world that runs on video game logic. That's right. I wrote this puppy and it can be all yours. All you got to do is get on Amazon and order it for yourself. You can get it in paperback or you can get it in ebook. Either way, you'd be supporting an up-and-coming author. So do yourself a favor and do me a favor and grab a copy now. All right, Betrayal. It happened. We got to the end of this season, and yes, there was a big betrayal, and it hurts, man. For the first time since episode 1, Lyra really has a chance to sit down and talk to her father, and Azriel is just, his mind is on his work. He could not care less about anything else. You saw him in episode 1. He's like a whirlwind. He just comes in, he does his work, and he leaves. He doesn't even have time to glance down at you. That's just how he is. And now, for the first time, she's sitting down with him, and there's sort of a calm before this storm. And they have their little conversation. She says, I know you're my father. I know who my mother is. What the hell happened? Why did you do what you did? And what's interesting to me about Lord Azriel is he does not apologize for anything that has happened. He is still 100% dedicated only to his mission. And in this great little piece of dialogue that I absolutely love, Lyra snaps at him and she says, you call yourself a father? And Azriel responds with, well, that's just it. I've never called myself a father. Oof, heavy stuff. And the clock is ticking throughout this whole hour because we know the Magisterium and Mrs. Coulter are on their way to Azriel's laboratory. They're on that mountain, and they're probably going to do some terrible things once they get there because they're the Magisterium. Doing terrible things is a 9 to 5 for them. I mentioned last week how when we got to Azriel's laboratory, it was weird to me because in the book you had maybe at most 10 pages left of story, and that's me being generous. And I feel like that still sort of is the case here, because even though this is the final episode and you expect a whole lot of big stuff to happen, not a lot happens in Betrayal because of that fact, because there's only a few pages left in this final book to get through. It's really just Lyra meeting with her father and, bonding with Roger, and then that endgame scene, that whole opening the portal, whoosh, that's it, we're done scene. It's very, very quick. The episode moves along at a breakneck pace, so I wouldn't fault you if you said that this wasn't your favorite episode. I wouldn't fault you if you said that this felt like an underwhelming finale where not much happened, because that's just sort of the nature of this final scene. Not much happens. It's more of a setup for season 2, for book 2. I'm very glad we got to spend some quality time with Roger, because it makes what happens later, his death, a whole lot sadder. Remember, it's still a crying shame to me that we didn't get to see the idea of demons being so prevalent before we saw the death of Billy Costa, and it ruined the death of Billy Costa. The death of Roger was not ruined because we spent a lot of time seeing Roger and Lyra's relationship, and not just in this episode either. We really built up the fact that she cares about him and he cares about her. She spends, I think, the first 4 episodes of the show constantly saying, where's Roger? I have to find Roger. Now that they finally found each other and they're about to be torn apart again, the heartbreak is there. The loss is there. We feel it. It hits us right where it should. I'm so glad they did Roger's death well. It is very unfortunate that this boy and his demon have to be separated, but it does kickstart the rest of the plot. Azriel uses that energy, that dust, which is still very vague even to me, somebody who's read all the books twice. He uses the dust to open up a portal, a bridge in the sky, if you will, to another dimension. Lyra bids farewell to Yorick Bernison and to the other bears and her friends, and she just kind of goes it alone with Pan to go try to save Roger and confront her father. Of course, neither of those things ends up happening because the force of the shockwave of opening this portal blows Lyra back, creates this whole explosion on the mountain, and we never get that final confrontation between Lyra and her father. At least not yet. Wait till book 3. What we do get, though, is a very interesting confrontation between Azriel and Marissa Coulter. Now, we know these two were lovers back in the day. They are Lyra's parents, after all. So it was really cool. I'm very grateful we got to see at least one scene of them together. And this scene, more than anything else, I think really peels back the layers of who these two people are. They're not the kind of people who open themselves up to anybody, except, I believe, to each other. Even with Lyra, their own flesh and blood, they're very closed off with her. I feel like this moment where we saw Coulter and Asriel speaking is the first time we really saw what was underneath those very frightening facades that they wear. We got to see the subtler side, if not softer side, of arguably the two main villains of the series. Again, I say arguably because this series is not black and white, folks. This is not a, we have to go stop Sauron because he's going to destroy everything kind of thing. There's no real villain in his Dark Materials, but there are very villainous people. Mrs. Coulter is one of them. Asriel is arguably one of them. Lord Boreal is definitely one of them. And we know going into this that he's going to continue through to season 2. He's got a lot more planned in his whole manhunt for Will's father. So we know we are not done with Boreal yet. And speaking of Will, Will is also on the run from everybody. He's all alone in the world, and he finds the portal into another place. And the last we see of Will mirrors the last we see of Lyra, with both of them stepping through these doors into the unknown. And when Lyra and Pan are walking through that bridge to the other world, and you see those, like the strings of the Tesseract sort of enveloping them like this glowing tent, it is one of the coolest visuals of this show. But something about the way that shot looked really made me want to experience it firsthand too. I can't explain why. It felt real. It felt like it was something that could really happen. And who knows, maybe it can. I'm not Stephen Hawking. I can't say for sure. But what a cool way to end the season, and what a cool way to end a book, because the book does end in a similar way. I thought we were going to see Will and Lyra meet. That's not the case. That's okay. I'm perfectly happy waiting for season 2. But now we're going into a very different show. Because in book 2, we never, as far as I can remember, we never see Lyra's homeworld. In season 2, that might change, because, they have taken some liberties and they have done some really cool things with the plot and moved some pieces around. So I can't promise we'll see her world again. But rest assured, season 2 is going to be very rooted in our world. So expect smartphones, Dame Edna, and all the other things that our world has. All in all, this was not a show that I would say blew the doors off my house and just exploded my mind into all these wondrous realms of possibility. The show didn't really do that, but it is still a quality show. It still has that HBO quality, and I would recommend this to anyone who is both a fan of the books and unfamiliar with the books. I think it pleases everyone. It is an example of a perfect adaptation where it doesn't fix what ain't broken, but it fixes some things that definitely make the story more interesting. I'm not waiting with bated breath for season 2 like I'm waiting for the 3rd season of Succession or anything, but I am very eager to continue Lyra and Will's journey. I think they did, overall, a pretty damn good job of bringing these worlds, I can't even say this world, these worlds, to life. Now, how they handle the weird planet full of the elephant people who ride around on seeds, that's a season 3 problem. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But that has been his Dark Materials, the season. I hope you enjoyed coming over here to my channel and talking about this show with me, because I enjoy talking about it with you. If you like other shows and other movies and other stuff about pop culture, don't go anywhere. Don't click on other folk. Stay here, man. Stay here, relax, pull up a chair, surf my channel. There's a lot going on here. You'll find something you enjoy just as much as these reviews. At least I hope so. Anyway, I am Andrew Fantasia. You are awesome, and this has been his Dark Materials. I'll see you all next time, and until then, adios.